While everyone's attention was focused on the 2024 presidential election last week, Israel and Ukraine last year, and the holidays late last year, the United States and UN bureaucrats were working hard behind the scenes this past fall on another gun control that could have a generational impact, not just on our rights here at home, but on the fundamental God-given right to self-defense for people all around the globe. Hello, Ryan Flugaur here with the National Association for Gun Rights, coming at you with a major update on the United Nations and their constant attacks on our Second Amendment rights right here in America. We've got a lot to cover in this video. I'm talking about a global regulation framework on ammo. That's right, they're coming for ammunition. And the United States under Joe Biden voted for it at the UN. And Elizabeth Warren, the communist senator from Massachusetts, has already introduced a bill that would, in many ways, enforce it domestically.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Folks, we need to blow the lid off this and raise opposition to this scheme fast. But before I get into the details, please hit that subscribe button so we can keep you up to date on how the UN's anti-gun agenda could impact American gun owners. Also, we have a link in the pinned comment below and in the video description to a petition to your U.S. lawmakers urging them to oppose domestic implementation of the UN's ammo ban and the Warren bill. With the volatile election year, this could get ugly really fast. And we all know the UN has been coming after guns through the so-called Small Arms Treaty for years. If you need background on the Small Arms Treaty, check out the video here. But now, they're expanding that by going after the global supply of ammunition too. Last month, the UN passed Resolution 7847, which is essentially their seal of approval on the global framework for conventional ammunition management. This was a proposal that we warned you about last summer. The vote was 176 nations to 0, with just 5 nations abstaining and 12 not voting. And the United States voted in the affirmative. We're going to link you to 4 documents so you can follow along here. First, the text of the framework. Second, the text of the resolution that actually passed. Third, the text of Elizabeth Warren's so-called Ammo Act, Senate Bill 3223. And finally, the vote total for the UN resolution that I just spoke of. With that said, let's go over the framework. And that's the name of it. It's a global framework. Within that framework are numerous objectives on ammunition that the UN wants to accomplish. Let me highlight for you Section 8, which calls for, quote, registers and databases of transfers, manufacturers, as well as end users. Yeah, it calls for the tracking of end users, or in other words, purchasers of ammunition.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Now, let's compare that right next to Senator Warren's so-called Ammo Act. That bill, which was introduced in November, includes Section 3, which is a federal ammunition record-keeping requirement for ammunition transfers. Of course, that bill is also an outright ban on purchasing more than 1,000 rounds on most common caliber ammunition in a 5-day period. But very clearly, there's a connection here. Senator Warren's ammo banning bill is effectively, therefore, an attempt at domestic enforcement of the United Nations ammunition regulation framework. Why the heck is a United States senator trying to do the United Nations bidding in our Congress? That's not how this is supposed to work. The United States should not be ceding our sovereignty and the constitutional rights of our citizens to the United Nations. Going back to this global framework for a minute, there's also a section in there, Section 11, which talks about, quote, enhancing the marking and tracing of conventional ammunition. And it even talks about serializing every single round of ammunition. Quote, in some cases, new technologies and processes may offer cost-effective solutions for individual marking during and after manufacture. These include inter alia, printing, stamping, laser marking, the application of micro tags, or the integration of or application of identifying combinations of rare earth elements, also known as chemical tagging. They want to do that for every single round of ammunition that's produced in the world. And if it sounds like this was a product of years of work by anti-gun European Poindexters and third world dictators, it's because it was. For years, the UN's been holding various meetings dancing around absolutely insane ammunition regulations. Another resolution that passed last month, 7846, credited a long-standing UN program known as the Program of Action to Prevent, Combat, and Eradicate the Trade in Small Arms and Light Weapons in all its aspects. That's right, that's the full name of it. Why is Joe Biden's State Department, our State Department, backing this nonsense? Let me also quote from the November 14th press release from the UN's Office of Disarmament Affairs on what they said about all this. The United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs and the Permanent Mission of Germany to the United Nations organized a side event to introduce the Global Framework for Through-Life Conventional Ammunition Management. Composed of 15 objectives, this new political arms control instrument fills a regulatory gap at the international level and seeks to promote the safety, security, and sustainability of conventional ammunition management. Panelists delivered the multi-decade journey that led to the establishment of this framework and discussed the relevance of regional approaches addressing the safety and security risks related to conventional ammunition in both the context of Africa and the Americas. But it goes on. Permanent representative of Costa Rica to the United Nations, Ambassador Martiza Chan, moderated the side event and reflected on the successful elaboration of the global framework by the recently concluded open-ended working group on conventional ammunition. Remind you that Costa Rica was the nation that bragged about destroying guns and ammunition at the recent conference of the UN Small Arms Treaty meeting. And that was delivered as a seething response to the National Association for Gun Rights speech in favor of the right to keep and bear arms for self-defense. Clearly, Costa Rica is no fan of the right to self-defense. But she goes on. That ambassador called for these global commitments to be translated into action through dedicated regional and sub-regional mechanisms to ensure their full and effective implementation. Folks, it's no secret that Joe Biden and the anti-gun European and Central American bureaucrats know that if they can serialize, regulate, and eventually ban ammunition, they can make every gun in the hands of privately held citizens useless. And now that this UN resolution has passed supporting this ammunition framework, I'm afraid it may be something we may never really be able to pick out of our teeth for good. The resolution that passed at the United Nations, 7848, calls on a series of preparatory meetings that will begin on this ammunition framework in 2025 and again in 2027. That cannot be good. But we can demand that Congress step up and vow never to enforce this scheme here in the United States. And it starts with the defeat of Senator Elizabeth Warren's Ammo Act. And you signing this petition is a great start. This is the same approach that the National Association for Gun Rights and gun owners have successfully implemented for the past 10 years since the UN adopted the Small Arms Treaty to begin with. Thanks to the constant activism of gun owners and NAGR members and supporters like you, we have stopped the U.S. Senate from ratifying that treaty for over a decade. Now, I wish I could say that the United States was not supporting the UN Small Arms Treaty whatsoever. We haven't ratified it yet, which means it's not enforced domestically. However, in another vote in the series of UN resolutions that happened last month, the United States actually did vote in support of a resolution affirming the UN's Small Arms Treaty. So thank you very much for sitting through all that. I know there's a lot there, but again, please sign your petition, subscribe, hit that bell, subscribe to our channel so we can keep you in the know. Sign up for our email list by going to gunrights.org. That way you can stay informed on this and every other gun control that's going on in Congress and the UN. And we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. God bless.